All right, this time it appears to be working.
Yep.
And so I am here with Graham Young. In just a moment, we're going to start a Facebook, we already Facebook Live, we'll do a podcast for Leadership with Vision. But I just wanted to give you a second to jump on. Robert, can you check and see if we are working? Robert Canfield is watching, and so is Wayne Cook. So here we go. Let me just say this here. I'd like to welcome you to Leadership with Vision podcast, and I am here with one of our training center students. His name is Graham Young, and I just thought maybe it'd be interesting to you to know a little bit about how students go from high school all the way into the ministry. And so we're going to start out. Graham, why don't you just tell them how you got saved?
I was raised in church my whole life, so I heard the gospel from the time I was a young kid. I got saved when I was 15 and realized that I never really put my faith in Jesus Christ. When I was 15, I realized that I needed to be saved, so I trusted him to be saved and surrendered to missions shortly thereafter.
What church are you from?
The Baptist Tabernacle in Carlisle, Ohio.
And your pastor's name?
Mike Gray.
And also your youth pastor is quite well known. Tell us a little bit about your youth pastor.
My youth pastor is Doug Krause. He's been in the youth ministry for more than 30 years. He's been doing great work, and a lot of people have been sent out of his youth group and through our church all around the world.
I found it interesting that you were in your pastor's office, and each time you go there, he lets you do what?
He lets me grab a book off his bookshelf every time I go back home.
And so every time he goes home, last time he was there, he went to grab a book. What book did you go to grab?
I was going to grab one of Chuck Swindoll's Great Lives book about David, but every time he gives me a book, he tells me I can't take one that's from his treasure chest. And I went for David, and he said, nope, not that one.
There you go. All right, well, tell us why you came to the training center and why you're down here.
I came to the training center because I surrendered to missions, and I told my pastor, I told the church, I told Doug, and I didn't know anything about doing missions, and they knew about the training center because Mark Tolson came from our church. They'd come down here before, so they realized that the training center was the best way to prepare young men who don't know anything about ministry to do ministry in the future. So that's why I'm here.
All right. Now then, how old were you when you surrendered to be a missionary?
I was 15 when I surrendered to be a missionary, and now I'm 20.
Now, did you graduated from homeschool, Christian school, public school?
I graduated from public school, Carlisle High School.
Okay. And tell us about your experience. How long have you been at the training center?
I've been at the training center for just about a year. I came in September.
All right. So what's it like? Tell us about
it. We have class 3 days a week. I get to have the classes are important because you got to learn about the Bible. If we don't have anything to teach, there's no point in learning how to teach. I also get to spend a lot of time around the staff, people that know how to do what I want to do. So I get to learn from people. Most importantly about the Bible, about living a life for Christ, and I also get to learn how to teach other people those things.
So you said class is only 3 days long.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so that's all you go to class?
We have training center class 3 days a week, and then on Friday we have a class with, that's all the missionaries usually come for that.
So tell them about what happens on Friday.
On Friday, not just the students, but the interns and some of the missionaries that can make it, we all sit around in a circle, and pastor teaches us about whatever he's decided to teach us from 9 to 12. We get to ask questions.
9 to 12 or 9 to 1?
9 to 1.
He's not the most intelligent training center student that we have. All right. And about how many people are usually in that Friday class?
It's about 30 to 40.
Yep. And tell us about your classes from Tuesday to Thursday. You're going to class for 4 hours, and approximately how many students are in there?
We have about 15 to 20 students in there. We have right now we're having a New Testament class with Robert Canfield.
And what is it, New Testament class? What does that mean?
It's New Testament survey. We're just going through every book of the New Testament, learning about the major themes, going through the individual chapters, learning about it. Robert basically preaches to us, helps us to learn what we can from those books, so we can apply it to ourselves and one day teach that to other people.
All right, what other classes do you have?
We get servant leadership with Jeff Bush. Learn about how Jesus Christ set the example of leadership, and that's being a servant, not being a dictator, but serving people. We have homiletics class with you. The guys get to learn how to preach because we definitely need it. And we also have theology class with Trent Cornwell. Helps us to learn major Bible doctrines. Am I missing anything? And most of the students have an English class as well.
And you don't have to.
No, I already took those classes.
He already took English class, and you think you can speak English?
I guess so.
Okay, so tell us about your favorite class outside of homiletics, which homiletics has to be your favorite.
Well, 3 of the teachers are in the room right now. So
Okay.
There's no good answer.
So there's no good answer.
Well,
Tell us something you like about one of your classes, or 2 of your classes.
What I really like about New Testament class is that we learn about what the book's about. We learn about its context, what the book was written for, the time it was written. But then we get to Robert basically preaches to us. It helps us.
He's a very calm and tranquil and boring and dull person, isn't he?
Oh, definitely. If you think that about Robert Canfield, you never met him or talked to him.
So he's like, isn't he like you just plugged him into 220 or something?
Yeah, I don't know what 220 is.
Oh, my soul. You were from high school in Ohio, right?
Yeah.
Did you know electrical current is 110 in the wall?
Yeah.
And the higher current's 220?
Yeah.
And that's what runs air conditioners and big stuff?
Now I'm getting you.
Now you getting it?
Yeah.
He graduated from high school in Ohio, and Robert's from Ohio. All right, well, tell a student that might be listening, challenge them about world evangelism.
Well, if you read your Bible, you're not going to go very long without finding out that God has a heart for the whole world. He came and he died and he rose again so that people could be saved, and there's no way for them to be saved unless they hear that message. So if you're young, you're a student, you have a life to give, Christ died for you, he saved you, and if you believe that, you have a message that you can carry to the whole world.
And tell them why they ought to consider the training center if you think they should.
You ought to consider the training center because you need to realize that you really don't know anything about doing ministry. You might have a heart for it, but if you don't get some training, if you don't have someone to teach you, you're going to end up spending a lot of time making mistakes that you don't have to make, and the training center can teach you how to do ministry, tell you to avoid those mistakes.
All right. Are you currently writing anything or posting anything? Do you have a web presence?
I send a prayer letter out once a month that really just goes to my home church.
No, you don't want anybody else praying for you, right?
I guess not.
So if some cute young girl out there wanted to talk to you, what's your email address?
My email, it's graham.young116.
McClure.
Yeah, Steve McClure needs some help.
No, go ahead.
graham.young116@gmail.com.
All right, and Graham is a very fine young man, and God's using him. We're proud of him, and so many others just like him. So I'd like to invite you to find out more about the training center. Well, I'm going to conclude this. Don't move yet. People are watching you. I'm going to conclude this, and in just 5 more minutes, I'll be back with Jeb Bush, and we'll have another podcast. And so the podcast should be starting to come back out. The fellow that helps us with that is Nate Francis. I'm not sure if he's gotten the last couple out or not, but I'm sure we'll check on that and make sure he's taking care of that. And we're looking forward to talking to you today with Jeb Bush on Leadership with Vision. God bless you, and thank you for watching. What have you called? Would you hit that finish button right there?